Yeah, so the pharmacy is about 4.5 years old. And so we were in our previous location, which was within a clinic building. The clinic was a great partner to us. I think it was very symbiotic, us helping them and them helping us. And so, yeah, we opened in April of 2018, started off with a pretty good following already, pretty good patient base. So made that startup phase quite a bit easier. But then in June of 2018, I was actually diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that definitely threw a curveball into the business plan. It's something
Wow.
that stage of the game, you can't really afford to hire another pharmacist, So I think I remember getting the call from my primary care physician after we did a routine CT scan and him telling me that he thought I had cancer. And I remember just kind of leaning against the bathroom door thinking, gosh, is my business going to survive? I probably should call a lawyer today and make sure that, all the licenses are going to pass to my family. How does that all work? Things that you never really think about. So that made up the first 8 months of our journey as a new pharmacy, surviving not just, startup phase, but surviving cancer as well. Getting on the other side of that. And, we had about a 3 or 4 month kind of break, and then COVID hit and we started the craziness that everybody experienced with that.
Yeah. So I'm not a psychologist, but I was a psych major for a little while. But you just completely compartmentalized a very personal, medical struggle, and made like a business management assessment of everything first. Was that like how you dealt with that difficult news, kind of just to compartmentalize and say, okay, how do we move forward? Or, because that's an interesting way to handle that kind of news.
Yeah, no, that obviously that wasn't the entirety of like the mental thought process. That was just, I think, as pharmacists, at our nature, we're extremely practical, right? And and so that was the practical side of the brain thinking, you better get your ducks in order in case you don't, you check out of this world here pretty soon. But there was the full range of emotions, and I certainly had my pity parties and the why me's and hey, we're doing good work, why would this happen to me? But at the same time, I think in some ways I kind of had prepared my whole life for that, pushing myself, pushing my body. It sort of prepared me for the mental and physical battle that chemotherapy was. And I'm glad if it had to happen to somebody in my family, I'd want it to be me, right? Like I think that I'm maybe better suited for that type of struggle than anybody else around me. I certainly wouldn't want, my family to go through it. So, it was not an easy journey, but one that I'm glad in the end I went through, because I learned a lot more about myself and what I'm capable of. I think I'm a firm believer that everybody should do something really, really hard, like at least once a year, to push themselves and prove to themselves that they can do more than they ever thought. And that was just that wasn't a voluntary thing. That was just kind of forced on me. So that was my thing for 2018. And maybe we'll just like run a marathon or something this year and make it easier.
Yeah. Wow. What a way to look at that, as, here's the challenge I'm going to overcome. And I can only imagine that, as a pharmacist who's, coaching and working with patients that are facing those same obstacles day in and day out, that kind of personal experience, if you take it in stride and take it with that attitude, can only make you a better, healthcare rock for that patient base.
100%. You're exactly right. To see the healthcare system from the patient side and the frustrations just with scheduling and prior authorizations. We see it on the prescription side, but talk about those sort of delays with scans and imaging tests, which are, the amount of anxiety that goes into them for the patient themselves, and then to be waylaid by insurance. It is incredibly frustrating. So I really learned that you have to be your own best advocate in healthcare to sort of keep those sticky wheels moving. And so telling patients that, and I think now I'm definitely more compassionate than I was. It's pretty easy in healthcare to be calloused and after doing it for years and years, to get burned out. So I have a new appreciation for the patient struggle and how tough it can be. Absolutely. And, the interesting thing was, I recovered from cancer. A few months later, I hired another pharmacist. She was fresh out of school. To kind of start part-time. 3 weeks after she started with me, she was diagnosed with a different type of lymphoma, but the same stage. So she went through that process. I don't know what it is, like why pharmacists have such bad healthcare tracks in my pharmacy. If you're out there and you want to work for me, maybe seek employment elsewhere. But I was able to help her through that as best I could. And now she's doing great. So, it's such an interesting journey for both of us.